Hello, all you beautiful people out there. I hope you have had or are having a fantastic day. If you're new around here, welcome. My name is Solomon, the teenager who talks about teenage stuff because there simply isn't enough of it on the internet. If you guys are new around here, I'd appreciate it so much if you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turn on your post notifications. It really helps support the channel. In case you missed it in the last video, Solomon Bar on TikTok. Follow me on there for any other behind the scenes shenanigans that you don't get to see on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get on with today's video. To all my students out there, I know there's this one thing that all of us like to fixate on: note-taking. If you've seen some of my videos in the past, you know that I've done videos on GoodNotes versus Notability, on how I take notes on my iPad, but I've never actually addressed how I take notes on my computer. And with the discovery that I made about 2 days ago, I thought I'd make a video on it because this is revolutionary, and the thing that I'm talking about is Notion. Now, you may or may not be familiar with Notion, but it's essentially note-taking revamped to a scale that I've never seen note-taking on a computer been revamped to before. Previously, whenever I needed to take down something on my computer, I just used Microsoft Word and just screenshot it and then just take the screenshot into GoodNotes because that's what I usually use. But I have found a new use for my laptop, and that is Notion. And where Notion comes into play is when it comes to making exam revision notes and when it comes to studying, kind of learning the content and then memorizing it. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down how Notion kind of works, some of the great features about Notion, and how I personally use Notion when studying for exams. Now, as you can see on the left-hand side over here, you've got your tab with all of your different pages. Now, I'll show you guys how a page works. Currently, I'm on the Getting Started page. This is the page that comes with Notion once you install it. By the way, Notion is completely free unless you want to upgrade to a personal pro plan, which I think is like $4 per month. Then you've also got teen plans if you're interested in using Notion as a part of a group. That might also be a great shout for you guys. It's kind of like a Google Docs on steroids. Now, just by looking at Notion, you may seem a little intimidated. That's how I felt a couple days ago when I first opened up the application, but it's pretty quick to learn. So as I said previously, on the left-hand side, you have all your different pages. If we add a new page, it can kind of be like a subject. So say, for example, we call this biology. That's gonna be the new page. And then let's change the icon, which is probably one of my favorite features on Notion. If we do biology, see, look, we can just make that a DNA double helix. These icons are kind of cute in terms of like organizing, but let's look at what Notion's actually capable of. If we go into one of these pages, like economics, for example, the great thing about Notion is that you can kind of make an endless loop of pages and keep going into as much specificity as you want. So say, for example, you make like a main overall subject folder. For me, all I've been doing like over the past couple days is making notes on macroeconomics. So let's dive into that. This right here is a page inside of a page. To make a new page in Notion, for example, you press type, you can press slash in order to bring up all the different things you can do. So you can add just text, page, a to-do list, headings, whatever it may be, but you can just add a new page and it instantly creates a page under macroeconomics. So you can see right here, it says untitled. And you can make that page whatever you want. And it doesn't only have to be under this main big thing. Let me just go ahead and delete this page. Now, if we go into aggregate demand, let's go down here to contributors of aggregate demand. So say, for example, I wanted to take all of this and import it into a new page just because I didn't like how it looked and it was a little bit clunky. So instead of naming this contributors to aggregate demand, if we go into something that's similar, for example, let's see where we could fit this in. Circular flow of income. Let's say we wanted to fit it in here. Okay, if we press slash and we press page and we name it contributors, if I could spell, to aggregate demand. Perfect, and we go back to aggregate demand, all the way down here, we see that we've made a new page. So we can name it something like, or we can add an icon, something like money, and make it like the famous money face thing. If we then want to, we can take all of this and shuffle it into the page. How sick is that? And then we open the page and it's all there. Mind-blowing. So that's one of the many great features of Notion, is that you can just make an infinite amount of pages to make sure that you summarize all your content adequately, and in case you have any chunky bits of notes, like I do here, you can just add them to separate pages within Notion, and it makes the process so easy, it's super fluid, and it comes very naturally. Now that we've looked at the pages within Notion, let's look at one of my other favorite features, and that's this little toggle feature that you see me using here. So, where this comes into great use is when you're studying and trying to memorize something. So I'm pretty sure there's something called like the Cornell studying technique method. It's where you ask yourself, instead of looking at notes, it's where you ask yourself a series of questions. So if we just go here, press toggle list, and say, for example, I was going to ask, what are the main contributors, or sorry, not what, who are the main contributors to aggregate demand? That's one of the questions that I wanted to answer. You can literally toggle down here and write the answer. So go like consumers, firms, then there's government, and then there's exports, I think. Once you've typed up your question, you can make a list kind of like this and actually transform that into bullet points, because you know I don't like how that looks. And then whenever you're studying and you see this question, you're gonna go over it, you're gonna kind of, force yourself to ask yourself that question, and then you're gonna open up the toggle list, you can answer it, go like, oh yeah, consumers, firms, governments, exports, imports, whatever it may be, and then check the list here. So that's one of the other fantastic features about Notion. And shout out to one of my friends, you know who you are, who showed me this studying technique. We've spent many hours using this studying technique within Notion on his computer. So in terms of actually learning how to memorize and recall information, taking down notes while either you're in class or during the lecture is pretty ineffective in terms of recalling that information. So that's where Notion comes in. It provides you a system, or kind of like a flashcard system almost, and it makes it seamless. So whenever you're going through your notes and you have questions about something, or you have questions that could potentially come on the test, write those questions down into Notion. Use that toggle feature in order to make sure that you know what you're talking about, and you're gonna be forcing yourself to ask yourself those questions instead of, just retaking down notes, which essentially serves no point. Now that we've looked at my two favorite features, the toggle list and then also the new page list, that infinite loop, let's look at some of the other features that Notion can offer you in terms of organizing your notes. So if we just press slash here, there are a couple different features that we see. So the first thing is just basic text. You can go, hello, my name is Salim. Just simple as that. And then you can highlight it like Microsoft Word almost. And then you can instantly convert it into some of the other features that are on here. We'll look at them a little later. Another great thing which you can do is, especially if you're using it as sort of a team's resources, you can comment on here, kind of like Google Docs. So say, hey, maybe you could change this up, for example, and that comment then appears on everyone's screen, especially like if you're sharing it with multiple people. So for example, share, you can publish it to the web or invite people. Very, very similar to a Google Docs. They'll be able to see that comment, resolve, do whatever you'd like with it. Also, if we just go back to highlighting it here, you have the standard features: bolding, italicizing or underlining it, striking it through. You can actually also change it into a mathematical equation, which is something Word has as well. But if you are using Notion for math, you have this equation option. And of course, you can also change the color, you can highlight it, do whatever you want with it. Let's move on. Some of the other commands you have are also making a page like we looked at previously, making a to-do list, very useful. So say like take out the trash, feed the cat, and then do math homework. So instead of using Notion as a completely note-taking based app, there are actually a lot of features that you can do in order to make it sort of a productivity app, like for example a note list. But also, one of the great things is that Notion has a lot of templates. One of the other ways you can transform Notion into more of a productivity app as opposed to a note-taking app is through the use of a table. You can put in table templates like I did just here. You can form so many different things. It's crazy. Like there's so many options in here. You can embed audio files, Google Drive links, import images. There's literally a whole boatload of things you can do with Notion. To further improve your organization within Notion, you've also got a series of bullet lists, then you've also got numbered lists. It's very much a supercharged version of OneNote, of Microsoft OneNote and Microsoft Word, all put into one great app. Now, in my opinion, how does this compare to an app like GoodNotes, for example? Well, for me personally, I still plan on using GoodNotes. I have an iPod for a reason, and that's why I preach it so much on my channel. But with an app like GoodNotes, it's a little bit more finicky than something like Notion, which is super smooth. You can do things on the fly, reorganize things just how you want them to be done. And with the addition of that page feature and also these toggle lists, it's truly game changing. Who would I recommend Notion to? Well, if you guys have been struggling to find a studying style that works really well for you, trust me, try using Notion, try implementing the to-do list, try implementing the toggle list like we've talked about in the past. It's the single best feature of Notion, hands down. Use this toggle feature and implement that Cornell studying technique in order to maximize how much information you can retain. This is definitely something I'm going to be looking to do with Notion in the future, making those questions and then forcing myself to answer them as I'm looking through my notes. Looking at my past, just reading over my notes and memorizing them has worked pretty well for me. It might have for you too. But try giving this toggle list feature a go. you never know. The Cornell studying and note-taking method might just be the hidden gem that you've been waiting for. Anyway guys, I'm sure there are a lot of other tutorials out there on how to use Notion, so if you are still a little bit confused, download the app for yourself. It's completely free, and look at some of the starter guides that they've offered, like here on this first basic page. It'll take you through the ins and outs of how to use Notion, but I just want to let you guys know about the fantastic toggle list feature. It's truly revolutionary. Anyway guys, that is going to be about it for today's video. I hope you took away something useful. I hope you learned something new that will help you in your productivity journey. Without further ado, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, I'd appreciate it so much if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on your post notifications. Have a fantastic week ahead of you. I hope you had a fantastic weekend, and I will see all of you guys later.